what can I do when the odds are in fact stacked against me? And how can I get these people to care? Because also we're still in a democracy. People do have power. We can use our voices to speak up. And if we continue to go, this matters, doing things in our own life to reflect our words, we can actually make an impact. So I don't think it's necessarily going, okay, if I use ChatGPT once, I'm going to cause entire devastation. No, it's going, okay, who is in charge here? Who has the power? Who can I go yell at, right? Like, where can I make myself heard? How can I make myself known in this space to actually create some impact? And also, the ripple effect is real, guys. If this is something you care about and you want to actually talk about, tell your mother, tell your friends, tell your dad, tell literally every person around you. And, it's something like I've been doing where people come to me and they go, I'm curious about sustainability and climate change and AI. How can I use it more sustainably? And I go, here you go. Take it and run with it. Have fun, but also use it to your advantage because it's helping people.
Welcome to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, the podcast that shows you how to leverage the power of AI technology without wasting your time or selling your soul. Let's embrace making AI work for you. Hey, my human friend, and welcome back to the Authentic AI podcast. Today's episode is a big one. I'm not gonna lie. We are diving into real talk around AI's impact on climate change with my brilliant friend and climate advocate, Maya. We really get into the messy middle in this conversation, the environmental footprint of data centers, the political power plays, and the pressure that often gets put on us as individuals to quote unquote fix it all, which, spoiler, it's way more complex than simply boycotting ChatGPT. But don't worry, this episode is not all doom and gloom. Maya and I also talk about how we can take action and the impact that we can have as individuals, as well as how AI might actually be able to help us solve some of these issues, even around climate change. And we also talk about how to stay grounded when the climate crisis and all the things going on in the world right now just feels so overwhelming. I know you're going to love this episode just as much as I did, so if you do, make sure that you share it with another business friend who could also use to listen to it, because the more we keep spreading the word and having real conversations around this stuff, the more impact we can have as a collective on shaping the AI future that we really want to shape. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Hi, Maya. Thank you so much for coming on the Authentic AI podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. I am so excited to talk to you today.
So, guys, Maya was actually a guest for our AI political climate expert roundtable in February, and she shared with us a lot about climate change and AI impact. But before we dive into the conversation, I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Maya. I run a business called The Course Corrector. So I started my business back in 2021 in COVID era when online courses were absolutely booming. And I started seeing this issue with online courses where it was this collection of information and course creators weren't properly putting together their courses or like properly even teaching their courses to their audience. And they were seeing drop off, people were asking for refunds, completion rates were down, and they started working with these course creators to help them fix their programs. I'm an ex-teacher, so this was really fun for me to kind of go back to my roots and dive into courses and tear them apart. Now, today, what I do is a little bit different. I work with service providers, course creators still, and I help them actually utilize LinkedIn. So I'm also a LinkedIn strategist, and I implement AI into a lot of their systems and processes to actually get them visible, noticed, creating content, all that jazz. But where that sort of merged is a lot of course creators wanted to utilize LinkedIn for their pre-launch. And I was like, oh, well, I can help with that because pre-launch is such a big part of the course creation process. And so it just sort of bled out from there. And I love working with literally anyone and everyone on their LinkedIn. And, I have a special place in my heart for course creators as well. So
I love that. And I literally just need to have you back on the podcast to talk about all of that stuff because I'm over here like, ooh, I need help with that. But today, you guys, we are talking about climate impact and AI and all the issues, all the buzz surrounding that, because I know it's something that's important to so many of us, and also something that a lot of times people get confused about, or they're saying different things. And I feel like we need clarity on the issues and how we can think about them, how we can actually make a difference so that we can take action toward change instead of feeling confused about it all. So let's go ahead and kick it off talking about this. What is the deal with the climate and AI impact, Maya?
Yeah, I feel like that's such a, it's like a heavy question of there is so much going on and it is such a hot topic right now. I mean, AI is being talked about in like every space, everywhere you go, someone has something to say on it. And a lot of people talk about the main issue with AI is climate change, right? It's that impact on our environment. Where I like to go is really talking about what AI is, because I think people look at AI and they go, well, it's like ChatGPT or Claude, or it's on my computer. It lives in this weird space. AI is really man-made, human-created LLM models. So that's models that learn from our languaging, our processes that are coded, that are in these giant data centers. So it's not just living on our computer, right? The origin is in data centers. Now, data centers are like giant, essentially Walmart-sized places where they house all of these servers. And so in order to create these servers, they have to utilize different minerals, different raw minerals, right? So you have to get that from where? Our Earth. In order to actually keep them running, you're going to need a bunch of water. So this is going to be a huge topic, is our water usage. What is really happening in these data centers, and why are we so stressed about water scarcity now? Another one is just energy, fuel to power these data centers. Because if you think about it, if AI is being talked about everywhere, it is everywhere. So we need a bunch of data centers getting a ton of energy input to actually fuel this whole never-ending, always-on engine that needs, to be fed, to keep going. So when you start to think about AI and the environmental impact and the environmental issues that it's having, it's because it's a new technology that requires a lot to run. So that's sort of the general overview of some of these issues and why this is becoming such a hot topic right now.
Oh, man. I know. Seriously. That's one of the issues too. I mean, AI is so confusing for so many people. People don't understand necessarily all of the different types of energy and all the different ways this impacts the environment. And then also how all the different pieces play together, right? Like the rare minerals. I mean, this is going to get political, guys, just so you know, but Ukraine is a big source of those rare minerals that go into AI production. And then also the water sources, I didn't even think about this until you just brought it up, but Trump is trying to commercially log 280 million acres of our national forest. It's 3 times the size of California. And not only is it going to destroy natural habitats and destroy a lot of the things that we love about the United States, but also this could pollute vital water resources too. And now that you just said that, I'm like bringing this into, okay, well, they're also building $500 billion in the new AI infrastructure. All of this plays together, guys. And there's a lot of different pieces of this entire conversation. So that's why we're coming together today to just talk about it and also bring clarity to how can we actually make a difference when it comes to AI and where is our actual energy usage going? Mm-hmm. Is one little ChatGPT back and forth prompt really making a big dent in the environmental impact of AI, or are there other avenues that we need to pursue to help with this? So what's your take on this, Maya?
Do you want to create more Instagram Reels but get stuck on what to post? I hear you. That's why I'm excited to share our new free resource, the Reels Prompt Playbook for ChatGPT. This playbook includes 20 ready-to-use AI prompts for Reels hooks and captions, and makes it super easy to create trendy content that grabs attention without spending endless hours scrolling Instagram for inspiration. Whether you want to share behind the scenes, offer quick tips, or tap into the latest trends, the Reels Prompt Playbook has you covered. Download your free Reels prompt playbook at DIY with.ai/Reels. And the best part, these ChatGPT prompts are designed to work for entrepreneurs in any industry. Plus, you can pair these prompts with any trending audio or any video that you find on your phone. Basically, they're super easy, super quick, and will keep your content super authentic while saving you loads of time and headache. Grab your free playbook now at DIY with.ai/Reels and start showing up on Instagram consistently today.
Yeah, I know. There's like so much goodness that you said in there. I mean, when you think about it, right, like when new technology comes about, we can't just like pigeonhole ourselves into looking at AI and being like, okay, AI is the sole source of all of our problems. Mm-hmm. So we actually have to look at how everything works together. Because if we're going to be talking about environmental impact and climate change, then we have to look at where all of the emissions are coming from. On a global scale, AI isn't going to be taking in that much electricity. It's actually a very small portion. And yet, electricity production is like one of the top 2 carbon emissions in the world. So it's like, where is that coming from? What are we actually talking about? What is the real problem? A lot of the problems when it comes with AI is on a local scale. So if we're going to talk about deforestation, getting rid of a bunch of trees, polluting waters, and then that water is going to be going towards different kinds of data centers. Who is being affected by this? When you talk about minerals in Ukraine, who's being affected? Well, it's not going to be the United States citizens that are being affected by mining these rare minerals, lives in danger, or devastations to ecosystems, right? We ultimately pigeonhole within our own nation as well. We're like, okay, I know that there's data centers in Arizona. There's some ecological damage there, but they're also all over the world, right? They're in Ireland, they're in Ukraine, they're everywhere. So what is actually happening on like a global scale, and how can we get it from the individual to that collective we, and not like we, the people of the United States, but we, the people on this planet Earth, when we need water, trees, we need oxygen, we need all of this to survive. We need biodiversity. And yes, like deforestation does cause a lack of biodiversity. Deforestation absolutely pollutes waterways. So does, producing these data centers. But what is the actual damage and what can we do about it? And I think in the face of the whole, like, what can we do about it? It's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I was actually reading some article today talking about how in politics in general, people who want to control what is happening, control the narrative, they want an overwhelmed population. An overwhelmed population is a very easy to control population. And so when it comes to what you can do, we'll break it down in really easy steps of like what you can actually do so you're not feeling overwhelmed. Because when it comes to climate change, it can feel like we're up against this invisible force of complete and utter doom. Mm-hmm. It's not too late. There's so much we can do. And I do want to really get into the impact of AI as well, because you're right. It's not as bad. Having a back and forth conversation with ChatGPT is not going to doom you and your future children and your future grandchildren for like all of eternity. That's not what we're looking at here. What we're really actually looking at is, again, who is being affected and what can we do to help those being affected by even maybe, hint, hint, utilizing this new technology we're creating. So if we do have to build these giant data centers, how can we utilize this rapidly evolving technology to impact these communities? Maybe even figure out how to use less water or how to actually utilize renewable energy for these systems. So yeah, I think there's just so much in there that it's overwhelming, but we'll try and not make it overwhelming today.
Totally. Well, and I think just having more of these open conversations is so helpful. But firstly, I just have to say that I love that you brought it to the global impact, because that is so true. I mean, I don't know. I can speak for myself as an American. We get into our little like, this is our country and like, this is my life right now bubble. And then we forget that like the whole rest of the world is there. And also we impact them. And then thinking about the current administration and how they're wanting to, quote unquote, win AI, but also what that means for the impact of the entire globe is kind of scary and probably a whole different avenue to go down. But anyway, I love that you brought it to the global scale, because it's important to remember to get out of our bubble and to remember that we are united, not just as a nation or like hopefully kind of, but like also we can be united as a globe, as the planet too, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the things that kind of gets me when it comes to AI and the environmental impact conversation is putting the onus on the individual. It's not necessarily the individual that's the issue. It's the data centers and the energy sources. So could you talk to me a little bit about greenwashing here and help explain that to us a little?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do it without getting like rage. It's like one of those topics that makes me so upset because, so sort of my background, I was an environmental educator, environmental teacher for a very long time. And so one of the biggest things is you can tell people to do their part. But where I really hate the greenwashing just in general is like people don't control what's happening in their environment. Like I can't just stroll into a forest where they're planning to do deforestation and go, stop. Like they're not going to listen to me because that's not something I control. And so this is where like I really hate that onus on the individual because when they tell you, reduce your use of plastic, and yet you go into a grocery store and see that like every single thing is wrapped in plastic, you're like, well, what do I grab? The bags are plastic. And yes, of course, there are so many companies doing such amazing work to make it much more green where you can actually recycle. And yes, recycle. If you can compost, yes, compost. Again, doing your part, but it's like the part that makes you happy. So to kind of go off of this whole greenwashing and AI and the onus being on the individual, I am seeing a lot of that conversation of like, oh, it impacts the environment. I'm not going to use it at all. A lot of the reasoning tends to be like, I'm scared and I'm overwhelmed, right? Those are like the big feelings right now. But I also think it comes from that onus of being on the individual of saying, okay, well, if you know it, then don't use it. And I don't think that that's helpful whatsoever. We talked about on the roundtable how AI learns from the individual interacting with it. And so if we have people who are constantly using AI, but they don't care about the environment, AI is never going to learn that we need to actually, pardon my French, but give a shit about what's happening in our world around us, to care about the earth around us. It's so important because I'm even going to pull up ChatGPT. Let's see. What is climate change? Let's see what it pulls up, right? It refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns, mainly caused by human activities. Amazing, right? You want it to pull that up because if I was someone who didn't understand or didn't know what was happening, I could actually go look it up. And that simple looking up is not going to cause the entire world to burn down. And you're actually also educating yourself too through this model that's also learning from you and what matters to people. And so I really want to bring it further into the whole political realm, because I think we're not the people that are making these rules and regulations. And AI is highly unregulated right now. So that's actually a huge issue when it comes to what is happening with the climate crisis in general, period. Like that's a huge issue. But then also a huge issue when it comes to AI is that it's not regulated. So that's not the individual's fault. And I think also putting the onus on the individual allows us to forget what's really happening behind the scenes. I call it like a smoke and mirrors. So AI is that initial issue that we're all going, okay, that is to blame for climate change. This new technology is causing so much destruction and damage to our planet. Well, no, as we talked about, it's part of a giant issue that's happening. That's because of transportation. That's because of electricity production. That's because of the industries burning fossil fuels, because of commercial and residential uses of energy, and also burning more fossil fuels and emitting more carbon. Like it's not just AI. And then we have to look further at who is causing these issues, because it's not the people, it's not the people living in buildings. It's not the people that are using electricity. No, it's these big companies, these big corporations. They're the people that are making the rules. And it's also our government is based off of lobbyists that lobby against climate change, not the people's fault. And it is not on them to have to tackle these major issues. Now, that doesn't mean you get like a free pass for not doing anything green and not recycling, right? But it is up to you to go, okay, what can I do when the odds are in fact stacked against me? And how can I get these people to care? Because also we're still in a democracy. People do have power. We can use our voices to speak up. And if we continue to go, this matters, and doing things in our own life to reflect our words, we can actually make an impact. So I don't think it's necessarily going, okay, if I use ChatGPT once, I'm going to cause entire devastation. No, it's going, okay, who is in charge here? Who has the power? Who can I go yell at, right? Like, where can I make myself heard? How can I make myself known in this space to actually create some impact? And also the ripple effect is real, guys. If this is something you care about and you want to actually talk about, tell your mother, tell your friends, tell your dad, tell literally every person around you. And, it's something like I've been doing where people come to me and they go, I'm curious about sustainability and climate change and AI. How can I use it more sustainably? And I go, here you go. Take it and run with it. Have fun, but also use it to your advantage because it's helping people. And it can also help the environment, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about. Like AI actually has some amazing impacts on the environment. And so it's like, okay, if you want the onus to be on the individual, that's not how it works in a system that has so many issues, right? It just makes me so angry because I'm like, it's not on the individual.
Me too, lady. I know. I'm very, very impressed with your answer. I mean, firstly, you dish up so many amazing knowledge nuggets, but also like your ability to like keep it from the rage. I love it. That was so great. And also, too, I can attest to the fact that I was sharing before we hit record, like so many things impact the environment in our world, right? It's not just AI, like you said, and yet we do like to put blame on AI for a lot of things, which is actually something that Saba Quidwai brought up in that roundtable, too, that I absolutely loved. But it's not just AI, and actually AI is the only thing that if you use it, it can actually help to free up your time as an individual to focus on maybe those things that might make a bigger impact, right? I always share, I did the nerdy math and I've been saving on average 15 hours a week in my business using AI tools. And actually, as a lot of you may have seen on social media, if you're following me, I'm using that to try to advocate for AI climate impact stuff and spread the word about different ethical issues, put my energy into the stuff that I think will actually make a difference when it comes to stuff I care about. And so that's what I always try to encourage people to do with AI tools too, is this is actually one thing that your usage of this tool that does impact the environment, but like the way you use it isn't the biggest impact it has. If you use it though, it's going to make a giant impact on your life and your energy and then your ability to not only do all the other things that you want to do in your life, but also potentially you could use that extra energy for actually making change the way that you want to see it, right? And I also too, one of the other things that I love that you brought up, and it so hits home with like the vibe of our culture right now, is that individuals do actually have an impact on our democracy. And it's hard for us in the times that we're living in to remember that, to remember like, wait, democracy is built on we the people. And when we the people come together, we can make our opinions and voices heard and we actually have a say, whereas a lot of other countries do not, that aren't democratic. And people have trouble remembering that too, but I'm getting goosebumps right now because it ties so well into AI. I love what Dr. Nikki Sweeney brought up in our roundtable too, where she was talking about this is a crazy moment in history where the consumers, the users, actually have more power than ever to influence the tools that we're using. Because AI tools are at this point trained by user input, we can influence the tools that we use, which is why we're trying to help more women and underrepresented voices embrace these tools. But also, I had not thought about that until you brought it up, that like, if people who care about the environment are not using AI tools, what does that mean for our future models? If only people who maybe don't even believe in climate change are using AI tools, what does that mean for our models? I was brainstorming with ChatGPT about LGBTQ plus people the other day and like just how to use correct language when it comes to that, because I really want to try to like encourage more of those people and amplify more voices when it comes to AI tools for that. As I'm having this conversation with ChatGPT, I was realizing the same thing about like that sort of thing too, right? We need people who care to be talking to these tools about the issues they care about so that the future models can still reflect that.
Right. And I mean, I even think about it in the sense of the people that are actually utilizing AI for good, right? Because there are plenty of people using it for good in terms of the environment and climate change. They're utilizing AI to create new technologies. I'm thinking of the water issue, right? They're actually utilizing AI to brainstorm new technological advancements in terms of how to actually store these servers with the least amount of water, so that we're not just consuming a ton of water and then it gets evaporated back into our system and continues to have like an unequal, disproportionate movement of water. Because, water is evaporated and it goes everywhere. And so ultimately, like if I'm in Arizona and I drain off a water source and it gets consumed and it's evaporated and it goes somewhere else, like that water is not going to come back. But with these new technologies, I'm able to solve that problem, whereas prior I was not. Because the thing with artificial intelligence is it gets you from point A to point B in the quickest route possible so that you're able to actually come up with solutions and for your brain for more creative thinking and thinking outside the box and coming up with ways that, you can actually utilize good to solve these issues when before it was out of reach, right? You didn't know enough to actually do something about it. Now you have the entire essentially like human brain is right at your fingertips and you have the ability to tap into every aspect of it. For example, I'm absolutely terrible at physics, but if I had to deal with physics for some reason, I can ask ChatGPT to help me solve something that I need to be solved so I can come to this great solution that's going to save our planet Earth, right? Like it has the ability to do things, streamline things. So I have the ability to sit there and go, okay, I really want to tackle this water scarcity issue. I now have the time, availability, opportunity to do it. And it's also, who is it giving the opportunity to? I think this is so important to talk about in terms of AI and climate change, because I feel like it's so interlinked with privilege and who has the ability to access tools and who has the ability to further themselves. And, we've always needed extreme credentials in terms of getting degrees, your graduate degrees, and then going out into the world. What do you look like? What do you sound like? All of these qualifying factors, right? Mm-hmm. Especially in today's environment, political environment. But when you have a model like ChatGPT, you're actually giving opportunity to others to come to the table with solutions, especially with underrepresented voices, because the people that have had the most voice when it comes to climate change and climate issues are not the people most affected by it, which are minority communities, indigenous communities. When you free up the ability to have all of the world's knowledge at your fingertips, you're giving opportunity to everybody to come to the table for solutions for real issues that might not affect you, right? I think like that also just really hits home for me too, in the sense of like, again, that who is this impacting? It's not going to be impacting me in my walk-up apartment in Chicago. It's not. But I have that recognition of my privilege. I understand that. So what am I doing to free up my time so that I actually have the ability to give back to the things that I care about, to include people who might not otherwise be at that table? It's not just dragging seats to a table. It's building new tables. It's literally reinventing things when people have been left out for so long. And again, like I really think it goes hand in hand with the climate issue, because we have continuously said we don't care to minorities and underrepresented communities because we have essentially trashed where they are living. And, we can see that in terms of AI and how we use water or where this waste is going. We talk about agriculture. How are we affecting even our farmers with this, right? Like it matters, because I was even reading an article about how, in these small towns in Virginia, they're paving ways to bring in so many data centers where there's one cow to like literally every 3 people, right? These are our farmers. Agriculture is our backbone of society. We need to eat. But if we continue to affect our farmers in terms of energy, in terms of water and stuff like that, we're affecting everybody else. But again, who's going to get hit first? So I think with climate change, if you utilize these technologies, it's like who's wielding the weapon. If you're utilizing these technologies for good, you can come to the table and say, you know what, I actually have solutions, but how can I actually bring more people in and get more narratives and talk to more people and understand more of what's going on? That's not just my limited worldview, because I have the world at my fingertips right now, at all of the information.
Yes.
So, I think that's just another huge part.
Oh my gosh, girl, everything you guys, I don't know if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can't see me, but like every time Maya talks, I'm over here like doing the biggest head nods. I'm like, because I've been agreeing with everything you're saying. You're laying it all out. Thank you for sharing all of these things and the perspective that you're sharing with us, because It's so, so important. And I think that this now kind of pivots to one of the bigger issues and why I decided to host the AI political climate expert roundtable and like how it all kind of comes together, right? Because this is why Trump in the AI era is truly so terrifying. Well, there's so many reasons.
It's scary.
And because one of them, when it comes to climate impact, is that our current administration does not believe in climate change. And this is an issue and it all swirls together. They're building these AI data centers, the infrastructure, without any concern whatsoever or any regulations when it comes to energy, water sources, that sort of thing. Which is actually why I created that AI climate impact to try to demand OpenAI as a company instead of our government try to make these changes because the current government is not really caring about it whatsoever. But also just all of the different things, this affects everything, right? Like I was saying earlier, the commercial logging in national forests that could potentially pollute vital water sources, but also building data centers in rural areas where, let's be honest, guys, a lot of rural USA still does not have access to internet in 2025, right? Like legit, there's lots of places in the US, rural US, that doesn't even have access to internet. And yet now they are trying to take over with AI data centers in these places. And also like, oh, okay, so we're going to build AI data centers on farmland. So what are we going to do about food? Okay, well, we're going to have to import it. Well, Trump is currently pissing off every other country in the world.
Everyone.
And so like, what the hell does that mean for trying to get food for Americans from other countries that he's currently pissing off? Like, it all plays in together. And again, this is like a huge conversation and we don't want to depress you even more. But let's just talk about real quick, like, what is the political impact that this is all having? Do you have any thoughts for us about how politics really plays into this? I know it's a big question, girl.
It's
sorry.
like, yeah, I know it's a big question, but it's a good question, right? It's one of those questions where politics really informs it. I think the one statement that I've had ringing in my head as you kept talking is when Trump just said, drill, baby, drill. Mm-hmm. And I think that ultimately at the end of the day really highlights what politics has to do with it, because these are the people that are in charge of our land. These are the people that are in charge of getting corporations to, you know, talk about their footprint. These are the people that are in charge of every facet of our system. Like and people that don't think so and are like, no, you know, like even if it's unregulated, that means I have more control. No, that's not what it means. It means they're bypassing certain important regulations that we need to actually mitigate climate change. And with a administration that doesn't believe in climate change and doesn't think it's real and doesn't matter and says things like drill, baby, drill, I think at the end of the day, what politics really has to do with it is these are the people that are supposed to ultimately keep us safe with rules, regulations, law, like upholding the literal law, which has not been happening. And on top of it, you know, what we're seeing is we're trying to get rid of so many people that are just speaking out for what they believe in. And I think like that, you know, I would be remiss to say that doesn't also impact climate change in the sense of it makes you question who's next. And if they don't believe in climate change and people are consistently speaking out about something that genuinely matters, what's going to happen to their voices just in this space? And so ultimately, you know, that's something where we have, you know, also a fun fact that I love to say, we are the only nation that actually knows our Constitution. Like the only nation that's sitting there and is like, I know my rights. I know these amendments. I was listening to like a comedy sketch about that from like a dude who lives in Australia. And he's like, I think we have one. Don't know what it says. I feel like we'll know what it says if there's an issue. But I'm like, we're the only nation that is built off of this idea of freedom and individual liberties. And ultimately, government is supposed to uphold that. In the current administration, what happens when climate change doesn't get heated, when, you know, we're not upholding certain regulations, when government doesn't put this stuff in place, who is going to get hurt? Us and our individual liberties and our freedom, which is, again, what this nation is founded upon. So I think that's sort of my way of saying that's what politics has to do about it. I also do like to mention, you know, you can call up your local elected officials. They're put in power because we voted. We still have a democratic system. We vote these people into power. And so if they care about climate change, ask them to advocate for it, whether it's in Senate hearings, any congressional hearing, right? Or like your local town hall, you're allowed to speak up, speak out and talk to these people or talk to their offices about it. And these are the people that are supposed to be looking out for us. And also holding organizations like OpenAI accountable. A lot of these AI organizations, they're not being honest about their carbon footprint. They're not telling us this information. And so a lot of data scientists are sitting there going, we're trying to crunch these numbers and guess what? We can't because we don't have the appropriate reports. And so we don't actually know what this real issue is. Oh, by the way, we're actually defunding, the Department of Education. We're getting rid of scientists. We're not funding their research anymore. That's what politics has to do with it, right? Like it's all interconnected, linked. And if we're not funding these scientists that are making not just for like cancer, right? But making headway for climate change as well. It's like, what is going to be lost? So much.
Thank you for that. And I do just have to say too, guys, so if you want to take any action with AI and climate impact right now, I did create that AI climate impact petition. I'll link it in the show notes, but it is just like an easy petition for anyone around the globe to sign. Because it's not just an American issue, trying to hold OpenAI accountable to this because, hey, you're supposed to be open and transparent, OpenAI, and you're backtracking a little on that. But Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, did come out and say something like, we're trying to be a consumer-focused company for OpenAI recently. And some AI nerds were like, oh my gosh, this is different than what they originally said, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that. Because that means that consumers can hold this company more accountable, right? So to me, I'm like, okay, well, maybe that will somewhat help my AI climate impact petition a little bit more. But another thing I've been using AI for is what you just said. Like, I actually have a guide now, an AI advocacy guide, free guide you can download that has prompts to get ChatGPT to help you with scripts for emailing, calling, texting your representatives, whatever you want to do. Because often I didn't realize this until I just started calling my reps on a regular basis recently, guys. This year, within the last few months, was the first time I ever called my representatives on any issue. But like, it's not that hard. It doesn't have to be that scary as someone who hates talking on the phone and is antisocial. Also, like, you kind of feel empowered, and ChatGPT can really help you. One of the things that was stopping me is because I feel like I was so overwhelmed by all of the thoughts going through my head, all of the things that I was learning online and like what's true, what's not true. Like, how do I get my thoughts straight to even understand how I feel about this issue, but then also to express that to my representative in a way that sounds smart and is actually helpful for them and like encourages them to take some sort of action, right? And ChatGPT has been helping me with that so much. And you guys, I'm such a weirdo. I even like had ChatGPT look up my representatives' like stances and history and stuff like that. So that could more so speak to like what they quote unquote believe in, right?
I think that just right there is so beautiful. If I could wrap everything in a bow of like what to do, there you go. Because like, you're not just like, don't expect to just come to the table knowing everything, right? You might not know how to talk to your representative. You might not know how to use ChatGPT sustainably. You have a tool that you can ask and like find out the stances of your local elected officials. I feel like that is so, I don't know. And maybe this is just me, but sometimes I feel like finding out that information sometimes can be so hard because they're politicians. Like, you're like, okay, well, what do they actually stand for? Like, what is it? And so finding out that information where ChatGPT can also synthesize it and understand what they're saying to multiple different communities and put it all together and actually give you something to look at and tailor your information to them. It's just like what you're using AI for in business, right? If you're trying to utilize AI to get your audience's messaging right, you're the audience for these elected officials. You just have to get your messaging right for them to listen to you. Yeah, I think that's incredibly important. I think like that right there is, please go do that.
So,
and download her guide.
It's so nerdy too. And actually, now that we're talking, I feel like I need to update the guide with a few more things because also another thing I've been doing, and especially with this administration, there's a lot of language being used as a weapon, guys. And what I mean by that is that they are proposing a lot of things and wrapping it in prettier language than the reality of the situation. And as a word nerd, it gets me so much because like the majority of Americans are good-hearted people. I want to believe that, right? And like, and there are a lot of people who are supporting the current administration because they hear the stuff that they're saying wrapped in a pretty bow instead of the reality of the situation. And also in general, bills are confusing. Politics are like really boring and like hard to understand a lot of times.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT is an amazing tool for understanding. People are talking about this issue. What does this really mean? Explain this to me in terms that like I would understand, or like, should I care about this? If you have a ChatGPT that's actually trained kind of to understand you, which is something else that I do with authentic AI, right? Sometimes I'll be like, based on my values, what do you think? Like, let's propose the different sides of this. And what do you think I'm most aligned with? And thinking critically, of course, because you should never let a robot tell you what to think. But it can really be helpful for digesting information and then figuring out, how do I feel about this? These are my personal experiences. And also understanding an issue that's not wrapped in a pretty bow of words.
Yeah. And then you get to ask AI after you find out all of that information, well, what can I do?
Yes.
What are my next steps, right?
Yes.
Based off of all of my values, what I have said is important to me. Now that I have these facts, I'm going, okay, well, what can I do? Right? Like literally it is as simple as that, because again, people want you to feel overwhelmed. They want you to feel helpless. They want you to feel like climate change, one, they want you to think it's not real and that it doesn't matter. But, you know, you're smart. You know it's real. You know it matters. So then they want you to feel overwhelmed and depressed about this big doom loom. Like that's right here. You can do something about it. And I think ultimately it's not about the onus on the individual. It's about what are your values and then acting on those values in a society that I generally do think promotes individualism, when I think we also need to start to talk about interdependence and how it's not just us and other people that are interdependent. It's us in the world as well. We rely on our planet for so much. And if we want it to give back, we do have to treat it fairly. And so, you know, it is about asking those bigger questions and showing up a little bit differently without being like, the world is on my shoulders. And it's okay to take a break. As someone who like, I think with all of this stuff, I love to go like head down. If I'm doing this, I'm doing it 24/7. I'm researching, I'm figuring out what I'm going to do. I can stay up late hours calling my representatives. It's okay to take a break too. And I think that also just needs to be emphasized in the face of something that feels so big. If you're overwhelmed, please don't push your nervous system. Like take a second and then come back to it with a clear head when you feel ready, because no one wants like an anxious wreck.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Maya. I have loved this conversation. And I know that everyone is going to feel a little bit more empowered and stuff. So let's go ahead and wrap up by, I know that you have a few little tiny action steps that individuals can take to help their AI usage and stuff. So can you share those with us?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, as much as I said, onus is absolutely not on the individual. If there are a few steps when you want to, I think, to approach your AI usage and use it a bit more green. Something that's really interesting is actually looking at the different energy between different AI models. And so if you have GPT-4, right, and it's like this massive image generating heavy duty model that's used for deep research, right, and a lot more very labor intensive prompts and outputs. You can actually utilize more lightweight models like Claude for some of those lightweight inputs. So when you have kind of multiple different AIs going at the same time, you can use it for different things, which does in fact save energy. So again, it's not like it's this big disastrous thing, but it does save energy. So I think that's always super important. Another thing is batching your requests. So if you have a bunch of things that you want to throw into GPT or any AI model, just batch them rather than having it be one thing after the next and just continuously going. Because again, think of it as more energy. You want one input, one output. And then also this is something that I need to start doing more myself. I will go to any AI model and be like, okay, I need to reinvent the wheel. Forgetting all of this information that has been saved on my like chat GPT's like little sidebar, even in Claude too. I love Claude, but just having it all there, it's all saved. Like I can go back and reuse some of this information instead of like kind of just being like, I need to reinvent the wheel and type in every new question that I just thought of. So those are just like a very, very small, very few easy action items that you can take that I just am happy to share in terms of your own stuff if you don't want to go tackle big things like calling up your representative 24/7.
Yeah, I love what you just shared too. And I hadn't thought about this yet. But so one of my programs is brand blueprint for ChatGPT. And it's like creating basically a knowledge base for your brand that you can like easily train ChatGPT every time. But that's a really interesting way to think about energy usage when it comes to creating different ways to train your AI assistant so that you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel every time and whatnot. I need you to share with everyone how they can connect with you and also share any free resources that you have, even though I know we didn't talk about business today. Maya has a lot of amazing resources for business, which is most of our listeners anyway. So tell us all the things, lady.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys can find me at thecoursecorrector.com. So that is my website. That's where I live. If you want to get in touch with me, I do have an Instagram. It is at thecoursecorrector. I check it. I'm not on Instagram. As a LinkedIn strategist, that is my home. Anyone sends me a DM, they will get a reply because I love it. It's just my name, Maya Stojkovich. And if you need help spelling that, go to my website. And then any freebies. So I currently have an AI agent that I'm releasing to the public, which is very, very exciting. It is an AI agent that'll help you actually create your LinkedIn posts because I feel like everyone's big question is, where do I start? How do I create these posts? Here we go. I have an agent that's going to help you use it. And so I'm sharing that.
Oh, man, I cannot wait. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. Man, this is such an important conversation. I'm so glad that you shared with us, lady.
How just crazy was that conversation with Maya, you guys? I know that we talked about a lot. I know that this topic is so complicated, but if you made it through this episode and you're still here listening to me right now, I know that you care about this stuff. I am here with you. I'm here caring with you, and we're in this together. And truly, while there's so much crazy stuff going on in the world, and it truly can feel so doomy and gloomy, remember to hold on to the positive ways that we can make an impact. Remember that this is an issue that we are together on, my friend. I'm here in this fight with you. And if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, I'm at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. Send me a DM. Just let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if you'd like just an air hug or just any tips for taking action. I can send you that climate change petition that I created as well. But I just want to send you a big hug right now. Know that you're not in this alone. And just the fact that you care and that you are listening to this episode means that the future of AI is going to be brighter and that together we can shape it. Okay, so sending you a huge hug, my friend, and I will catch you next time I catch you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, my friend. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your shows.